And hello, how are you? Long time no see. Eduardo here from the Ivory Tower, coming at you. And yeah, a long time no see. So today I wanted to talk about those talismans I made a post about some time ago on my Facebook page, which are here, sun talismans. So these sun talismans are pretty interesting, and they actually provided with interesting quirky results, and now I'm gonna tell you why. So I have prepared the screens with the elections for these two batches of talismans. Now I have two batches of sun talismans, and one is just bronze talismans, the other is bronze talismans and lemon quartz. And these have proved to be pretty interesting in their effects. There have been people on my channel asking me to make videos about sun talismans, and the reason that I didn't do them as soon as they asked, even though I thought that it was a very good idea, is because I was still observing the results. And today, to be honest, something clicked, and I realized what results they gave me, and hopefully even more results will come in the future. But up until now, up until this summer, I have to say that some talismans have eluded me somehow. I mean, no, it's not really a mystery. It's been like a couple of years since we got some interesting sun elections. So the astrological weather just wasn't good enough for my requirements to make, sun talismans, astrological sun talismans, up until this summer. So finally this summer I made some sun astrological talismans, and now I am at basically month 3 of looking at the results. Because to be honest, I first made some sun talismans back when I started like 3 years ago. Yeah, and in these 2 years, not in summer, not during spring, Sun in Leo and Sun in Aries. In these last 2 years, I found nothing satisfying to make sun talismans. So I started with sun talismans from 3 years ago, when back when I still didn't know much about what I was actually doing. I didn't know many subtleties and nuances, and I just tried to, do whatever I could, and then, throw my hands up in the sky and ask, please let it not be some stupid mistake, or let this election not have some stupid mistake for which I will be punished or something. And yeah, as a result, the sun has been one of the most mysterious planets to me, strangely enough, because I didn't actually notice much results from it. Then, of course, the whole Astromagia conference thing, my translation of the Quindecim Stellis came out, and I became more known in the community. And Marianna, a friend of mine, told me, "See, you thought your sun talismans weren't working, and why do you think they're not working?" Wink, wink, smile, smile. And I said, "Yeah, actually, yes, you're right. Maybe, I have become a bit more well known in the community, especially for being relatively, a new practitioner. And my interest in the Quindecim Stellis and in learning and understanding all the nuances of astrological magic propelled me into being, I guess, a little bit known and develop some sort of authority. And as you can see, as you will see in this video, we'll also talk about the authority that you can develop with sun talismans. So for today, I wanted to talk about these two batches of talismans, and I have prepared the election. Let me switch, all right. So this is the election of the first batch. Now, let me pull up the description that I have on my website about, these are Sun in Leo. And so I wrote that I asked Helios, Apollo, Raphael, and the Demon of the Sun to guide me in the creation of these talismans. Well, blah, blah, blah. And I asked for kidneys, spine, ribs, and heart health, general vitality and health, healing diseases, removing bad thoughts and illnesses. Oh, interesting. Now I'll tell you why. Enhancing and accumulating more energy or chi, and doing it more quickly. Excellent reputation, wealth, superfine perception and intellect, sweeping away incorrect perception, power of prophecy, and this is interesting because I will tell you why. Clarification and having all the clarifications. Maybe I meant clairvoyance. Clairvoyance and having all the benefits of the sun in Leo. And of course, he also asked to manifest the effects only when the talisman will be worn or brought onto oneself. So, this is really, really interesting. Because first of all, let's take a look at the election. We got the sun in the first degree of Leo rising. And this is actually the last moments of the election. I screened the last minute when I finished everything with prayer, consecration, suffumigation, etc. So this is the last moment where I closed everything. I started at 6:01 and I ended at 6:19 a.m. As you can see, the moon is in Virgo and it's sextiling very tightly the sun. However, it is out of sign. But it's still a very tight sextile. The moon is in the third house, which is her joy. And one interesting thing about sun rising talismans is with the moon aspecting the sun is that the part of fortune, due to the way that it's calculated, will always aspect one or both of the two luminaries. So here we have the moon applying a conjunction to the part of fortune, and first of all applying a sextile to the sun. So the moon, which is the sublunary arbiter of all things, basically the arbiter of all things which happen in the sublunary world, is applying as her next aspect very tightly to the sun. And the sun is also applying a sextile to the part of fortune. So the part of fortune is configured to be applying an aspect to both. And this is very, very interesting. It really potentiates the effects of the election. We got Jupiter in the 10th house, angular, which is always nice. It's always a good thing. And again, the malefics, well away from all aspects, to the two significators, which are the sun and the moon. Now, the interesting thing is, since the moon is sextiling the sun, which is rising, both the moon and the part of fortune are aspecting the ascendant and the descendant. So this is another boost to the election. And one interesting thing that happened during the making of this batch of talismans is that when I started to make these talismans, actually a couple of minutes before I started, and I was like, managing all the materials on top of the altar and, gathering my thoughts and reciting the Orphic hymn, I guess, was that the light went out, completely out. And so I had to use my cell phone and the torch of my cell phone, the flashlight, to give light to the area, which, you know, it was morning, but still I prefer to work without without light getting into the room. And as soon as I stopped, I was like, no, wait a second, I have to still give the other prayers all the utilities in the prayers, such as, you know, let the effects be manifest, noticeable, regular, and let the talismans manifest their effects only when the bearer of the talisman brings the talisman with them or wears the talisman. So that maybe, you never know, if you don't want the effects of the talisman, you can not bring it with you, leave it somewhere in the house, and it will not influence you. I find that is a very useful, do the usual kind of utility, PGM style, and why not? It's very useful. So I remembered about this, and I kept on praying and telling the spirit of the sun to do this. And as soon as I was like, okay, now I said everything, I was kneeling with my hands open in the orans position, which is basically the hands open. Orans in Latin is means the praying one. So the orans position is the position of the one that is praying, and it is the position with the hands open to the sky. And I was also kneeling. As soon as I stopped the prayer and I kneeled back up, the light instantly turned back on. So it was a really nice synchronicity. The spirits of the sun probably took it, you know, took the prayer and gave me this sign. And it was a very nice, very interesting, let there be light kind of synchronism. And it was very much appreciated because, you know, the light of the sun from obscurity into light as soon as the talismans were born. It was very, very symbolical, very beautiful, and very surprising. Surely really interesting thing that happened. Now the second batch of the talismans is this. This is the election. And oops, let me position myself better. Okay. So sorry, this is the election of the second batch, and as you can see, the sun is rising and it's squaring, actively squaring as his next aspect, Jupiter in the 10th house, which is always a welcome bonus, having an aspect to benefic, which is also angular. And the moon is in Pisces, well away from the conjunction to Saturn, 10 degrees away, and also the opposition to Mars. The opposition to Mars is separating many minutes away from it, actually 30 minutes, half a degree away from the opposition to Mars. And the next aspect of the moon here is okay. No, I think the next aspect of the moon is not there, but it's not void. What's happening here? I had an election where the moon was squaring Venus. Was it this one? No, which one was it? I don't recall. Maybe it was another election. Probably, yes. So basically the moon is here in the 8th house, just doing whatever the hell it wants. It's separating from the sextile to Jupiter, then separating from the opposition to Mars. And then her next aspect will be, I guess, the trine to the sun. Right? Yes, because Mercury is in conjunct Yeah, so it's basically void of course. Yeah, anyway, let me pull up the... This is Sun in Leo, the 4th, right? Yes. So in the description, again, I recited the Orphic hymn to the sun for this batch. I invoked Nahiel, which is the intelligence of the sun, as per Agrippa. I asked for success, health, and wealth for all generic talismans of the sun. For the Bolo talismans, I also added to not be conquered and finish everything one starts, as per Picatrix. For every single talisman, I asked, in addition to everything else, for all the benefits of the sun in Leo, and again, as the effects, that the effects will manifest only if the bearer wears or carries the talisman with themselves. So for this batch, if we observe the election, oh no, I'm sorry. That's why I was confused. Yep. July the 23rd. One bronze. Oh no, no. This is true. This is just... Yeah, I'm sorry. This is an... Okay. Yeah, this is the actual election for the second batch of the talismans. The next election that you just saw is the election where the moon makes a trine to a retrograde Venus. And I've got a really neat story about this trine to a retrograde benefic, and I will tell you this after this one, after explaining to you this election. So in this election, pretty much everything is going well. Nothing regarding the malefics. The moon is free from the malefics, again separating from Mars. Ruler of the moon is angular, the sun is squaring Jupiter, so everything is fine. And I asked for this one. Yeah, all those things that I told you. And that's it. Sorry for the long pause. I was just checking out some things that I wrote in the description of those two batches of talismans. So this is the election of the second batch. Again, pretty good election. No drawbacks. If anything, that the moon is not making an aspect in the immediate vicinity. But the next aspect of the moon is the trine to the sun, when she will change the sign, but it's very far away. However, they worked. And there's reason to believe that in sun elections, in sun talismans, in astrological sun talisman elections, the moon has kind of a secondary role. It's debated. I don't know if it's true, but these talismans worked. And yeah, now back to me. I will now tell you what effects I have noticed about sun talismans. So one of the things that I asked to the sun for these two batches of talismans was to develop spiritual and temporal authority. And also, as I told you before, to remove bad thoughts. And also, the sun, Apollo, in ancient Greece, was also a god which was really good at clairvoyance. So the sun gives clarity of thought, clarity of perception, and also clairvoyance and prophecy. And I was like, what? The sun? Weird. Let's try. So I tried, and for the batch of talismans were asked for prophecy and clairvoyance. The same night that I made this batch of talismans, I put the talisman on under the blankets, under the cushion, the pillow, and then I proceeded to sleep, because it was night, I guess, right? No, it was early morning. Yeah, basically I went to sleep and I dreamed about 4 different things, all related to my girlfriend, and all those 4 things were precise. So basically, when you dream, normally you have a dream which is metaphorical. Dreams give you information in a metaphorical fashion. These dreams were not symbolical. They were not metaphorical. They were literal. I literally saw 4 different things. In remote viewing slang, these were 4 different hits under blind conditions, because she never told me about those 4 things. And also involving her thoughts and her interiority. And yeah, basically I woke up, I sent her a vocal message, and I went back to sleep. When then I woke up later, I found her vocal message, and she was shocked because all 4 things were literally true. And she never told me about those 4 things. And actually, one of those 4 things was a little bit confused, because I kind of mixed the information. My consciousness kind of mixed the information about those 2 things, 2 of those 4 things. But those 2 were still pretty much fucking spot on. And she was shocked. I was like, interesting. And the good thing is that she was shocked and also a bit moved by this. And for some of those things, she didn't take a decision. And after I told her that I dreamed about those things, and I also dreamed about a solution to those things, she told me that this thing moved her and pushed her toward choosing and finding a solution instantly. So she was battling with thoughts for since 1 month before this dream, and the day after this dream, she took a decision, she took action and solved the situations that she didn't solve and wasn't capable of solving. She didn't feel like solving. So very nice, interesting success. So the clairvoyance and prophecy part of the talismans was, check, was a success. And about not having bad thoughts and developing spiritual and temporal authority, I can now say, after about 2.5 months, 3 months of having these talismans, that it manifested after a while by me coming into contact with a specific thing and a specific person, which does specific things, which interact with the unseen and spiritual beings through a completely different perspective than the one that I was, used to having. And as a result, this resulted in a very strong and comfortable initiation into my own power, which was, people have this distorted view of initiation as something beautiful. It's not. It's fucking painful. It's hard. It's an initiation. Initiation come from comes from, I guess the Italian is inizio, which means starting something. And when you start something new, it's uncomfortable because you are thrown. It's like not knowing how to swim and getting thrown into the water. So you have to learn to swim by doing it, and you're not really sure you will survive this. So it was, by the way, happening in correspondence with some transits regarding the outers. Yes, transits to the outers work. I'm talking about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They fucking work. You know, as much as I love traditional astrology, they work. And now, not getting too much into the details, but the outers work exactly as the moderns say they work. And I developed spiritual authority and spiritual power. I dealt with my inner demons. And in doing so, I acquired a spiritual authority over myself and a personal sovereignty of me, of my internal well-being, and also the authority that I can have with other beings and the beings that maybe attack me or interfere in some way with me and my life, which I didn't have before. And it wasn't easy. It was an initiation. It was hard. It was painful. It was full of tension, anxiety, paranoia, all the stuff that you usually get when you first are introduced without anyone guiding you into the occult. Basically, you open up to something completely new. You become a target. You don't know how to deal with all this stuff. And yeah, you basically learn to swim by swimming and, almost drowning and finally managing to understand how to get your head above the water and swimming and kicking anyone that drags you down. And in doing so, you acquire power, knowledge, and authority. And so these were the effects. I'm sorry if I've been really, really generic. Maybe I will tell you more about this in the future, in some future videos. But it was very eye-opening, and it really revolutionized my whole worldview on everything occult and esoteric. And I'm also struggling to integrate the changes into myself, into my worldview, and yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's been ultimately very rewarding and very much freeing, liberating, and illuminating. Yeah. And again, one of the things that this whole initiation went through was removing also negative thoughts and realizing that negative thoughts can be worked with as entities and can be removed, and you can battle in some way, or you can collaborate with those entities, or you can just remove those entities from the field of your consciousness. And you can remove many things that normally conventional medicine and psychology doesn't know and doesn't have the means to remove. So again, very empowering, very much empowering in the sense of becoming sovereign of your own self, of not depending on any entities for help, and realizing that you are your own help. Yes, in this way, the sun talismans make you understand that you are your own sun. No one is going to save you. Nobody will save you if you don't give them the authority to save you. And so you have this authority, so you can save yourself, without giving away your authority to somebody else to do it for you. I understand that somebody that comes from a more traditional perspective where, you know, magic has to do with contacting other spirits, which are much more powerful than yourself, to do things. I understand. I understand how this can be something which is not easily acceptable because it goes, sorry, against what you've been taught, basically, which is you are a stupid little human that has no power, and to do anything, you have to call somebody which is much more powerful than you, and they can do those things and you cannot. But really, if we're talking about personal power, personal freedom, personal protection, you only need yourself and your own power. And this is what the Sun Talismans, I guess, taught me in these 3 months. Then if you want to have boons and things related to, you know, the other planets, I guess you can do magic and you can call forth entities to have those boons because they're specialized in those things. A bit like Skinner's metaphor about you going to another city by foot or going out into nature, finding a horse which is specialized into moving fast, and domesticating that horse to move fast, you know, riding the horse to get to the other city much faster, in a much faster fashion. So, yeah. So, but again, even this kind of magic that is calling forth entities to do stuff acquires a whole other perspective, since it's not it's less of a submission and it's more of a business partnership. It's less some kind of, oh, please, you, that you can do this stuff which I cannot do because I'm so little and I'm not specialized in this. Please, if you want, give me this thing, which is, by the way, something which you manage, associated correspondent to you. Please do this for me. It's much less like this, and it's much more like, hello, I give you this, you give me that, please. And if you don't want to do it, okay, goodbye, I'll find somebody else. So it's much more on an even level. And if it's not even, it's even in the sense that you recognize that you are two different beings at two different positions in the universe. And you just request. You do not supplicate. You do not... you have more authority. So this, I guess, is what what these Sun Talismans taught me about spiritual authority, and even temporal authority, the authority that you have, you know, in real life, interacting with people, and you know, having authority with other people, not wanting to submit to other people, and even making your own voice be heard and doing what you want, of course, in the full respect of what other beings want. And yeah, and as far as removing bad thoughts, yes, bad thoughts that you know, provoke rage, depression, anxiety, sadness, hopelessness, paranoia, fear. Those that the New Age community would call low vibration kind of emotions, which are linked to thoughts of a bad, you know, of a bad vibration, so to speak. Those also are worked through by means of your own authority and by clarity of your own internal self, because the sun also gives you clarity. So in a way, if you get inside of yourself and you get this help in meditation with the sun, and you go deeper and deeper, and you are more aware, and then more aware of more thoughts, more patterns of thoughts, which are like behind, and then going behind, and then behind it, and behind it, and then looking at that, and then looking at that. And it's like this when you get inside of yourself and you follow this pattern of thoughts, and you ask why. And in a shamanistic way, you also speak to them with these emotions, with these thoughts. They get a form. You can talk to them as entities, and there are ways to talk with them, to remove them, to kill them, to make them your allies, to manipulate them, to completely neutralize them. And you can do that. And in a way, even the request that I made to the sun spirits to have more clarity regarding spiritual perception and seeing spirits, I asked for, physical sight of spirits, but I didn't get that. I did get a much clearer clarity of perception of spirits in the worlds that are not physical. So in a way, all this work about temporal and spiritual authority, meditation, clarity, immersing into myself and into my patterns of thought, somehow gives you a clarity that makes you understand that your unconscious, from which all this stuff comes, you are aware of it, and through it, you are connected to the collective unconscious. And so, yeah, of course, there's also problems about signal and noise ratio. So much information that comes from your unconscious is just, preposterous and stupid, and it has no basis in reality. However, for the purposes of working with yourself and the patterns of thoughts of yourself, and the shamanistic work of immersing yourself into yourself, and working with these negative feelings to resolve them, and, in the end, living better, you realize that you can do it. You can use your imagination sooner, and much sooner than later. It becomes not imaginational, but imaginal, to use the words of Henry Corbin. So basically, it's you come into contact with the world of, the world which is beyond your imagination, for which you use your imagination so that you can connect with it. So basically, your imagination, when you meditate, when you do a shamanic work, you close your eyes and you start to think about these thoughts and stuff, you can connect through your imagination as some kind of interface to the imaginal world, which basically is the collective unconscious, or, the astral, whatever you want. And the more, of course, you are relaxed, the more the signal is higher than the noise. If you astral project and you leave your body behind and your brain behind, you're also much, much less filtered, and so the signal goes even higher. But yeah, basically everything that I'm telling you, you can use to remove bad thoughts and live better. And have one other thing, which sun talismans are famous for, which is happiness, creativity, serenity, freedom from depression and anxiety, and temperateness of emotions, and freedom from sadness. Health is so much psychosomatic. I mean, you can get so many medicines, but there are some things which are of the soul, and you can just resolve you can heal them by using these methods. And by the way, I also got guided by my intuition to look for Slavinsky's method of removal of entities, the PET method. So I got back and read back. I'm reading again this book. And with the awareness, I already read this book many years ago, but with the awareness that I have now, and everything that I told you in this video, this book hit different. And the work that I did with spirits, the work that I did in meditation, it's like I'm taking from all these perspectives, and then I'm synthesizing an overarching perspective, which includes all of these perspectives, which also include somatic therapy, family constellation work, the power of the word, which is magical, the power of intention, the power of personal sovereignty, the power of imagination, which is not really imagination, if you know how to use it. I'm uniting everything into one coherent, synthetic, essential perspective, which really empowers me, and I hope will really empower other people if I ever, consolidate it into something concise that I can teach, and with which I can hopefully help other people to get better, live better, and be their own authority. So yes, I think I will make another video for the Moon Trine retrograde Venus thing that I was talking about earlier, because we are already over the 40-minute mark. So yeah, this is what you can expect from astrological sun talismans, and even more. I don't know about kidney health, spinal health, and stuff like that. Thankfully, I never had diseases of this kind. About chi and the energy and accumulating more chi and more energy, for those of you inclined for spiritual cultivation practices, if you're into Neigong, Tai Chi, stuff like that, what I can tell you is that it just pushed me toward being more outside in nature, under the sun, in contact with water, the sea. And I can tell you that from the studies, from what little I studied about Orgon and Reich, water is a very, very, very important thing. It is an orgone accumulator. In some ways, it pulls away negative orgone energy. And there's reason to believe that orgone, prana, and chi are basically the same thing. They're probably the philosophical mercury, which is this kind of matter, which is not really material. It is not exactly spiritual. It is kind of in between. It is programmable, so it follows thought. It follows the intentions with which it was programmed. You cannot really measure it. You can observe its effects, like heat, light, into the material world, but it's not something material like electricity or electromagnetism. It's not something entirely spiritual because you can feel it, you can get it. So it's probably that. I'm sure there are more nuances to it. But yeah, as far as energy goes, as far as accumulating more chi and more stuff, yeah, the sun is, getting sunlight. Grounding. I also removed my... I walk barefoot as much as I can, because the electrons that you get from the earth are very much important. They are anti-inflammatory. They help you also with energy. And, there's also, if I recall correctly, an Indian practice of sun gazing during sunrise and sundown. However, don't do it if you're not supervised. But there's a practice which does that while you are grounded. So while you are barefoot into the ground. And so it has something to do with photons entering your eyes, being converted into electrons, and then the excess electrons going away through the feet, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I have observed that even having a lot of sex, and during orgasm, and for us males during ejaculation, there's an incredible loss of energy. And staying outside in nature and bathing in a swimming pool or in the sea, staying out in nature, getting sunlight, being grounded, of course, eating and breathing too, they help immensely with recovering energy. And if you're into these practices, you can also, I guess, accumulate all this energy into yourself. They say into the lower dantian. And that's why, for example, those practices like Taoist practices tell you to do these exercises outside in nature. So yeah, there you have it. This is the chi and energy side of these talismans, for which I asked for. Sorry. And what else? As far as general health is concerned, I'm fine. So yeah, that's it for astrological sun talismans. I hope you liked this video. As always, if you want a consultation with me, you can contact me through Telegram, Messenger, my own Facebook page, which is The Ivory Tower, at Eidos The Ivory Tower. I sell my talismans in the shop page, in the shop tab of this page, of my Facebook page. Contact me to arrange for shipment and payment. And what else? Yeah, I have so many things in my head right now about the future and future projects for my brand, for the Ivory Tower. But I guess I will develop them in the future if I'm not lazy enough. So yeah, all right. Take care. Bye.